Welcome back to the BlueBird Rivals Mini League Season 1. Hopefully there is a Season 2. I am your host and co-star, Son of Jupiter. And joining me is the man, the myth, the legend, Wolfie himself. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm excited, right? We're up to our final series of the night, at least broadcasted. And I am very excited to see these teams because we haven't seen either of them. Or sorry, let me get this straight. We haven't seen Hazard's last match, which again we're up to now, but we're now up against the absolute top of the roster, MRR or Max's Rancid Rats, and they have been outperforming the competition like no one else.
They definitely have. Currently sitting 4-0. They had a clean run going through in the day one portion of the round robin series, beating all their teams. And then obviously with trash forfeiting, they get an automatic 3-0 there as well. So almost a clean sheet run currently for them, but they are versing the number 2 seed, the second place position in terms of Hazard, who have been looking quite strong. And obviously, we'll give them a run for their money, we hope. Now, before we get into our next match, as always, this is a crowd-funded tournament. It is there for the teams and the players, but it is sourced by, obviously, you guys. So if you do want to support us and you want to have all the players receive, a lot more support and obviously a bit of money in terms of that as well, definitely smash that ! Donate in the channel right now. You'll get a link to Context GG, which is a crowdfunded source, and you can help support these guys here as well. Currently, we're sitting at $280 total prize pool, which is split 60% first place, 30% second, and 10 third. And you can see the breakdown now on your screen. So if you want to support these guys, they definitely deserve it, as they've put on some quality content so far.
Indeed, they have. And look, Max's Rancid Rat. So the members of the team, if we haven't already gone over it, first of all, we got Delusion, Steve, and Frenzy, right? I've seen these players around for yonks. Everyone here usually knows most of them, and they are some of the most formidable players in OCE. On the other side, of course, we do have Hazard, which is Sir Axel, Schmoopinator, and Negative, and we're seeing some interesting things happening out from the man in the Merc, and, I don't know about you, but I'm kind of excited to see what they can pull out of the hat.
Me too. They do have a lot of synergy. Hazard have been a team that, have kind of rose to the occasion, especially once being picked up by Hazard. Obviously, a lot of support by them to really build this team into something that has a lot of potential and can be great. But they are going up against a very strong team in Max's Rancid Rats, previously known as Team Espo, who had a really strong run in RLCS a few seasons ago. And they're a team that has so much synergy. They have worked out all their kinks. They have done a great job collectively as a group. And it's always exciting to see them play. I remember drawing back to them and thinking how strong a team this is, especially when they get their rotations right and they get their formations. Mainly, I'm talking about Delusion. Delusion can be such a strong player when he's rotating well and he's not overcommitting. He does tend to be a third man quite often. And as that plank player, having the Batmobile, or he might even have the Paladin today. We don't know what we're going to have, but he has that mentality of being that defensive player.
Yeah, absolutely he does. And I think as well on Hazard, they do have kind of an uphill battle to climb. And the biggest thing about it is that they need to make sure that they're kind of rotating nicely. And I think it's definitely on Negative, because we've seen him do some crazy stuff before to pull more of that crazy stuff out of the hat. But
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I really don't have much else to say.
Yeah, I'm looking to see some really interesting plays from Negative. As you said, he can be quite dynamic, very, very hard to read, and that really works to his advantage. But just before we get into this match, just a quick shout out to obviously the BlueBird org as a whole. They do have many facets in their company. Obviously, they have BlueBird Rivals, which is coming to you right now, but they also have the role-playing server. So if you are interested in that, definitely go and give us a search. If you're not already, follow all of our socials and our Discords. All links will be provided to you down below. But that said, we are going to get straight into our final match casted for the group stage or the playoff stage of our round robin. It is going to be Max's Rancid Rats taking on Hazard in a best of 5.
And in a couple of seconds, we're going to have the first kickoff. And we've seen it time and time again. But this first match It's going to be a little bit of chaos, a little bit of organized chaos as well. And we'll have to see how it goes for each team. And right out of the gates, MRR heading straight for that goal.
Oh, they're definitely trying to open up. We did see a bit of a double commit there from the side of Hazard, but luckily not punished as well. And I'm always drawn to Frenzy and the way he plays the game. So dynamic on the ball, and it's always exciting to see him play. Trying to get a double touch there, couldn't quite get it. Schmoopinator does get the read on the goal line, but it's going to be actually Steve putting a shot on, but there is a very nice save coming there from Hazard.
Pass back from Frenzy straight to Delusion, ready to receive it before his opposition does. And again, such aggressive plays, and oh no, the defensive mistake ends up costing them a goal. A good push forward from Frenzy, but I think no one on either team expected that to go in. Negative even himself, ready for it, but couldn't quite get the touch.
Yeah, we can see just on the replay there, had no boost in the tank for that, couldn't quite get the read, and that's going to be an unfortunate start for Hazard, but there's plenty of time on the clock, although Steve forcing out a bit of an awkward play there by the side of Hazard. They are able to recover and recuperate and start to look to make an attacking play. Schmoopinator beating out two players there, but Delusion, the recovery, the speed is unlike any other, although Cyrexel managing to catch it off guard and getting the equalizer.
Well, Sir Axel says, speed, I'm going to show you some real speed. And he manages to get it over the top and straight into the goal. A good punishing play. And it seems as though Hazard is saying, hey, you know, we know how good you guys are, but it's all right. We can still take it, you know, tit for tat right there.
The one thing that I always look for players is to see how much, you know, respect they give to their opposition, especially an opposition of this caliber. But you have to remind yourself there's nothing special about their cars. They're not getting any extra boost, they're not having any extra damage or hitboxes or anything. Everything is pretty uniform, and that is so powerful in the fact that if you just play consistent, you get those good rotations, then you have the opportunity to beat them on the reverse.
Exact. They are purely for skill, and they are purely looking for that victory. And right here, right now, you see Steve really pushing forward and really trying to get up to that ball. The MRR, they're really heading for it. They're trying to make those aggressive plays work, but it seems that Hazard are able to actually react in kind and make sure that they can clear it out.
Hazard doing pretty well at the moment on the defensive side, not really overcommitting, although Delusion getting a nice 50 there. That actually works out in favor of the side of Hazard, the ball going onto the blue side of the field. Cyrexel forcing out a touch there, but Frenzy reacts well, managed to get a few extra touches, but negative. Great patience to be in the right place, right time. Gets an awkward bump on Delusion, who opens up the opportunity. Schmoopinator with the angle to follow, and there's a second goal for Hazard.
Wow, I'm kind of lost for words at the moment. I honestly didn't expect this to happen at all, but it seems as though Hazard's aggressive playstyle is working out in this first game, really pushing Steve and Frenzy as well as Delusion onto the edge.
I don't know if people were able to see it on that replay, but Negative got just enough of a touch on Delusion that he couldn't land properly onto the back wall there, which meant that he couldn't actually jump for the ball, and that was the real pinnacle of that play happening. So it's very exciting to see from Hazard so far, although they are looking almost a little bit hazardous on the defensive side, although they have transitioned well. Almost a shot opportunity there, but to no avail.
Now Delusion, he's taking his time, going for that flip reset. Actually fakes it out. Couldn't quite get the touch over Schmoopinator. And Steve, Frenzy's time to shine, but Cyrexel reacts and goes, hey, this is my ball to touch, my ball to move forward on. Steve with the solo play. Can he do it? No, it gets challenged out. Frenzy over the top, Negative reacts. It seems as though Hazard are all over MRR, forcing any issue and making sure that they can't get any kind of ground pushed forward.
Yeah, Max's Rancid Raz at the moment just looking a little bit worse for wear on the defensive side. Offensively looking quite strong, but defensively just missing a link that it's almost like they're, you know, not feeling super comfortable at the moment. And Hazard taking full advantage of that at the moment. So actually getting a nice dunk there, but Steve, good rotation to be in the right place, right time, gets a 50 win. Now Delusion up, but Negative already challenging that play, and Hazard just looking to close this one out.
Frenzy now going for that solo play. It's good to see, but couldn't quite connect. Delusion, he's the only man back. Can he make the challenge? He does. Oh, an awkward touch. I think no boost on Cyrexel. Right here, right now, it's kind of sitting in the midfield for both teams. They can't quite get those connections, can't get the touch, the passes. It's not all that they want to be doing. It's It's all kind of those unforced errors which are going to have to be, the main deciding factor.
Oh, Schmoopin had a great patience on the goal line there to get the squishy save just at the right time as Steve was looking to pounce. A bit of an overcommit there by Negative, but it won't be punished. Although Delusion with the turn 0 boost, it does put it into a great place for Steve, who gets the read. Forces out a couple of mistakes there by the side of Hazard, but they've managed the equalizer with the minute left.
Wow. Again, a bit of an unfortunate miss from Negative, but Steve makes quick work of it. It's really smart, though. He went for the ball. He didn't go for the challenge. He went for the shot because it was on the defender to make that defensive touch or defensive clear. And, if it doesn't happen, then that happens. Steve scores that goal every time.
Exactly, and especially when you're in that first man position, there's no risk. Hold the phone as Frenzy sets up his own double touch from beyond the halfway line. Beautifully first touch there, and is able to get just enough of a read there to get the back corner. Cyrexel just creeping off that back post rotation. Well done to Frenzy.
He makes it look so easy. You can see him twisting, turning in the air. It's so straightforward. And you can tell Frenzy really absolutely loves to make those plays because when they go in, they look so good and so nice.
They do indeed, but there's a bit of a missed rotation there. Frenzy, again, just catching the defenders off guard. And this is where MRR really look to open up.
He's so smart about it too. He just goes straight for the shot, and it's on the defender to make that touch and make that clear. Because if they don't, then it's another goal scored. And it all of a sudden goes from behind to 2 goals ahead.
Yeah, exactly. We have to remind them that they were 1 goal down at some point within this first match, and they've managed to now have a 2-goal lead after just some, like you said, smart rotations, good decision making, and forcing out some awkwardness from the oppositions. And we see that by Delusion almost getting a touch there, although Negative is looking to capitalize. He has boost. He sees Cyrexel. Will he go for it? Opts to go for a solo play, which does get saved, and it will be that all she wrote for the first game. Max's Rancid Rats taking it after being down.
Well, game number 1 is down, and it was what I was expecting, but I have to say, Hazard put up such a good fight. They did so well in the first half of that game, and then you could tell that, I think MRR, they just switched something on, they clicked. All of a sudden, their team plays were there, the solo play, that fantastic double shot from Frenzy, sorry, the double touch from Frenzy. All of a sudden going from, I think it was 1 and 3 to 3 out of 4, like, oh my goodness, incredible.
Yeah, it was really, really good. One thing that I want to point out from the stats that we can see is Negative currently sitting on the bottom of the leaderboard. Very uncharacteristic from him considering the kinds of plays that we have seen previously in our first series. So, I think that could be a bit of a factor as well when some of your, more dynamic, more individual players are a little bit shut out.
I think the biggest thing to note, at least in this game, was that Hazard were really kind of pushing it on MRR to make those mistakes or force out the aggressive touch. The biggest thing that I saw though is that as soon as MRR, reacted to it, got the touch that they needed, and moved forward, straight away it instantly clicked. It went from 1 and 2 to all of a sudden 4 and 2, and oh my goodness, was that such a switch.
Yeah, it was. It just seemed to, just be a factor of, all right, if we don't pull this out now, we are going to lose this first match. And that would have been a really interesting situation to start for Max's Rancid Rats because they don't normally start off on the back foot like that, but they were able to come through. It does seem like we have a bit of an interesting situation. We have some bots on the field, so we are going to look to reset that match because the last thing we want is a full bot match where you have just Frenzy styling on everybody. But still looking at that second game, Hazard showing some potential. They look like they have some answers to the way that the Rats are playing. They do have some options. It's just whether they can, I guess, solidify their defense to not leak as many goals.
Definitely see though, and you touched on it a little bit earlier, but Negative really couldn't get in the right frame of mind and the right kind of frame of play style to play how he wanted against his opponents. There was a couple of early mistakes from him which costed his team a couple of goals, and from there you could tell he just was never comfortable. He was never like, yep, I like being in this position, I like being in this spot. He was sitting there going, I don't really know what to be. I don't know where to be. I don't know whether I'm meant to be in the midfield, meant to, pass it, keep on the ball. And that's the big thing is that as soon as your opponent's uncomfortable, their playstyle falls apart.
I would have to agree. I made the point a little bit earlier about the fact that when you're not feeling like you're having involvement or an impact in the match, it causes you to have, I guess, hesitation, missed decisions, overthinking. And that's where players can really unravel, like you said, where teams, just don't know what they're doing wrong and they fall apart. And that's where Hazard now have to, take the time to go, all right, we had some really strong moments. We did manage to get into the lead. Now, how do we hold it? How do we stop the Rats getting back in? And that's where, having your players lift and, be a little bit more available and a little bit more impactful will really work in their favor. So hopefully they're able to use this time that we get the lobby reset to just, consolidate, come up with a strategy and execute.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And once they find the right play to execute, they'll be able to make it work. But again, it's totally on them because you can tell MRR after that first match, they are so comfortable. They're sitting there going, oh, we could be one down at a minute remaining and we can still, take it back and make it all work for us.
Mm. That's it. It's like now the question is, how do you make the Rats uncomfortable? If that's something that they can be comfortable with and they're happy to just be like, yeah, have the run of the field for 4 minutes, but we're going to smack you for the last minute. How do you change that mentality? How do you really bring the pressure to a team that's currently sitting undefeated?
And that's the question that needs to be answered because, in my mind, right, Negative needs to be pushing forward. He needs to be as aggressive as he wants to be. And then he kind of sits forward and hopes that his team is going to pass it to him. And again, so it's not only on Negative to play aggressive, but then it's on Schmoopinator and Sirexil to make those passing plays work. Because if they don't, they're just going to fall apart. And then all of a sudden, they're 2 games down. And then all of a sudden, they've lost in a 3-0 convincing, landslide, which is really not what they want to be seeing. And we're heading into game 2 here. And that's the big question that needs to be answered. Can Hazard step up and play as aggressive as they need to?
Exactly. Can they keep Rats on the toes? And we're going to see in game 2 whether they can do that. We do see Sirexil coming out of the gates pretty quickly, but a double commit there by the Rats, still not being punished. It seems like Frenzy can alleviate all of that pressure on his own. Almost a double commit there for the Rats, but again, not being punished at this point in time. Schmoopinator, what can he do? Gets the forward flick, gets some momentum behind him, manages to get the demo. This could be the opening play. He has 0 boost, but he still has the positioning, although unfortunately couldn't get an infield pass.
You can definitely tell he wanted to get that touch, wanted to get the pass, but now Negative. He has a bit of control. He's taking so much time, and I think it might be the smart play, especially in defense. Schmoopinator, though, pushing forward. You can tell they're really trying to position ready to go 1, 2, 3. The rotations need to be on point. They need to make it work. But look, Delusion interrupts it, gets the flick up the top. Steve is aggressive as ever. And right now, MRR really pushing for the goal. Oh my goodness, so close. Almost inside the net.
Very well done by Sirexil. Very clutch moment to get that save as well, because the positioning that Steve had was ready for that save. Although Frenzy coming through with an absolute banger, hits crossbar out. Unfortunately, couldn't manage there. Steve just doing Steve things there on the roof. But it seems like Rats now are looking to capitalize on some of this built-up pressure.
I have no words for what I just saw. That was crazy. They were so fast, those shots. And the defenders were just scrambling to it. It was a little bit unfortunate because, all the pressure was on Hazard to make those defensive clears. And right now you see Delusion trying to make his own aggressive touches.
Nice forward pass. You've mentioned it before about Negative just being that outfield play. Does manage to catch out Sirexil, but the way that pass was initiated, there was so much time and space for the Rats to get back into it, and they were able to get an easy save. But now they're looking to capitalize. Steve trying to be on the ball but can't do so. Will pull out. Delusion getting a whiff there. It's going to open up now for Hazard to set up some kind of play. Schmoopinator getting past one, but Frenzy just having the right touch to alleviate that pressure.
Now Delusion's up for it. Challenges by Sirexil. Oh, this could creep into the net. What a clutch save from Frenzy. Schmoopinator, though, trying to make quick work of it, trying to push it forward, but all of a sudden, all 3 of them are there to defend the ball.
Oh, if he just had that tiny little bit of extra momentum and extra velocity on that shot, it would have been a great opening for the side of Hazard. But as we stand, it is currently 0-0 past the halfway mark. And for the first time, we're starting to see the Rats sweat a little bit. They're not looking as comfortable as possible. But as we said before, they are happy to let you, for 4 minutes, have the run of the field. And then they counter-attack. So let's see how they're able to manage this as open net. Steve, too much of a dish there, but Delusion almost getting that shot.
It's very hectic. Like I'm a little bit confused as to kind of how to look at this match because both teams have tried to play aggressive and there's been so many missed opportunities as well. You know, it's kind of gone top bins and out, or you know they just scrambled back to get the ball. I think it's a great showing of Hazard to really kind of not make as many mistakes as they had before. But all three of them are sitting there, negative, touching it out. Delusion trying to make it so that his team can work something out here. Frenzy though touches it back into the corner and now has a bit of control. MRR pushing forward. Frenzy, holy cow, he just doesn't stop. It's a pass into center. Delusion is trying to get there, but nothing could happen out of that one.
Frenzy just made everybody look absolutely slow. Just super amount of control coming through. And then gets the aggressive rotation to steal the boost in the corner. Very, very big play, unfortunately, for the Rats. They weren't able to capitalize on that. And Negative is actually going to be the one in the right position. Oh, no. Just that little bit too far past the ball that he couldn't get the shot on. But then we do have a team pitch going backwards and forwards between the two. That could just straight be in. No! That a little bit too high. Could have been an opening for Hazard.
Honestly, Hazard are really playing out of their minds at the moment, okay? A lot of the time, they had these passes and they had those plays to make, and, you know, I think a simple mistake is really what's going to come to it in this kind of final, 30 seconds of the game. Both teams have played such a clean game of Rocket League, and it's going to be really sad to see when, a mistake is forced out. And right now, you see Frenzy. He's going for the ball. We've seen him do some crazy stuff before. Negative, giving him so much space. The shot on, but the great save from Negative. And right now, 20 seconds remaining. Both teams are scrambling to get to this ball.
Oh, nice 50 in advantage for Hazard. It's up to Schmoopinator to get the challenge. He couldn't, unfortunately. And now it's going to start to open up. Steve beating out one challenge. Can he get a second? No, Negative starting to have a bit of life in this match. Gets a 50 to advantage. And Sorexel should be able to play this forward. He does manage to get a touch. Schmoopinator getting the touch there as well. This could be on. It's up to Steve to slow it down, and he does. And it goes to a 0-0 overtime.
Puts it on the ground, and that's what they needed. It is now in overtime. Negative has control. Steve has to make the save. He does. A good smart play. Schmoopinator straight into Frenzy. Frenzy now has control. The flick over the top. I think that might be it, but no. Negative scrambles back to get to this ball. Steve, though, has a bit of control. Frenzy sees Delusion there. He knows that he's there waiting for it, but again, Negative challenges over the top. Hazard have a bit of control, and you can tell both teams are right nervous. That's in. Negative has done it. They've evened the score in the series.
What an angle. Negative just going for the 50 challenge. Delusion actually nudging that towards Negative to get that kind of angle. That is a very, very fortunate goal, and that is just being credited after so much positive work that Hazard had put into that game number 2. They kept Max's Rancid Rats at bay for a full 6 minutes scoreless. So a massive order, and they deserve to be credited with that win.
Oh my goodness. Like, I don't have much to say, but what I do have to say is that's a great showing by Hazard. They played that so well and so cleanly in comparison to their previous series. The previous game, not the previous series. The previous game, it kind of felt like they were all over the place. They were trying to, suss some stuff out, trying to, be quickly attacking in offense. But, they took their time with this one. They made that aggressive touch, and, Negative right then and there, he forced that final issue and he made it work for his team.
Exactly. Sometimes forcing the issue just gets all the credit. And, looking at the stats that we have on the screen for us now, Negative having a huge game being the MVP. So he went from being someone who couldn't find his plays, couldn't really have an impact, to having all the impact, having the game-winning goal as well. So massive, massive turnaround for Hazard. But now, again, this is the question that we have. The series is at 1-1. We're essentially at a best of 3. Can we see Hazard capitalize on this momentum moving forward? That's going to be the real big factor for me.
Look, I think you're right. I think as well, you could definitely tell that both teams got really nervous as it headed towards kind of that overtime. Because I think back, like MRR, like they expected to, be in a better position heading into overtime, or at least, finishing the game before it even got to overtime. Whilst Hazard are kind of sitting there going, oh, is this really going to happen? Like, are we about to do this? Like, yeah. And they really need to back themselves for the future because they're playing so well right now.
Exactly. So hopefully they're, using this positive mental attitude. They're using the successes that they had to move forward because they do give themselves every opportunity. We did mention earlier that they are currently sitting 1-2. So this could be a potential for Hazard to claim the first spot if they are able to take away a game and a series away from Max's Rancid Rats. So very, very interesting situation that's been handed to us right now, as we are just currently waiting for a member to come back. Delusion unfortunately had to restart his net, but it just gives us more time to focus on what went really well for Hazard. They seem to control the field a little bit better. I felt like they were never really panicked. They had good spacing, they had good positioning, and they were able to counterattack really efficiently as well.
I think again, yeah, on Hazard's side of things, it's definitely on. Oh my goodness! Wow. Sorry, I can't even think right now. I'm still in awe of basically what has kind of happened in this entire series. The biggest thing for me is I think Delusion on the side of MRR isn't exactly. He doesn't exactly feel welcome isn't the right word, but he doesn't feel normal or natural in kind of his approach to it. You can tell that he's a little bit clumped up. He's not really sure of his spacing with his teammates, and I think that's what's really causing them issues at the moment. I think that once they kind of iron that out, then it should be a cleaner game from them. But right now, Hazard doing such a good job.
Yeah, for sure. I know that just by watching the Rats and their formation, that Delusion is very much more of a defensive player. He seems to be, I guess, the backbone of the team, and that allows Steve and Frenzy just to kind of do what they do, which in a way you do want to really highlight those players, especially Frenzy, who can turn nothing into an amazing play. We saw him do some really good controlled air dribbles to alleviate all of that pressure that was starting to build from Hazard in a single moment. So if you can have a player like Delusion to step up on the defensive side and allow your goal scorers and your flair players to shine, then that's really, really good. But it's finding that balance. How do you balance out being a really good backbone of a team and also have a forward impact as well?
Look, we're just waiting for this next match to start up, but once it is, we're really going to kind of get to the crux of the issue because right now it's turned, this best of 5 into a best of 3 because both these teams at least are able to kind of take the time now where they can mentally reset and get back into the zone, but they only have 3 more games maximum to play.
Exactly. 3 games, 15 minutes total is going to be the deciding factor. Will we see a game 5? Will we see Hazard go positive in the series? We don't know. All we know is that the game has started right now and is going to be in favor of Schmoopinator, who does go for a forward boost grab, which is going to be very aggressive, but it's going to open up a lot of opportunities for Hazard.
100%. And the big thing to note, at least on standings, right, is that MRR are 4-0, Hazard are 3-1. If MRR win it, then they're, obviously guaranteed and they don't have to worry about a thing. But if they lose it, there's still that kind of, again, I've talked about it a little bit earlier, but that awkward kind of tiebreaker scenario where they, might not be in first place. They might end up in second seed, which, wouldn't put them good towards the finals.
Exactly. But for the first 30 seconds, no one really coming through with some dynamic play. We do see Negative now going for a forward play, forcing out a touch there by Delusion. Nice passing play there, but Steve does have the read, and he should be able to... Actually, no, he doesn't get the read there, and it's actually going to be Frenzy trying to move it forward. Does get a 52 advantage, forces out a touch by Cyrexel, but he's got good control and enough boost to keep that ball away from Delusion.
And right now, Delusion really pushing forward. He's wanting to make those touches, and you could tell that he really wanted to get a powerful flick in midair there. And, his rotations, it's looking a little bit better this game, but now Schmoopinator has the time, has the chance. This could be it. Oh. Steve with a great block. He had to make it because that was do or die.
Yeah, that was a very interesting situation. Negative with 0 boost kind of was a decoy to set up for Schmoopinator, but the 50 challenge just not working out for the Dominus in this instance. And Max's Rancid Rats holding off for the time being. Steve getting a double in the corner, not to advantage. Negative just going straight for gold. Delusion being put in a very difficult position. And there's a demo play. This is a bit of a power play now for Hazard. They need to capitalize as Frenzy respawns. Steve on the back foot forces out a touch. And is the rotation there for Hazard to capitalize? It seems like for the moment, no.
Steve really wanting to get that touch. He saw Delusion as well. He didn't exactly trust his teammate, and that's what I was saying earlier. He needs to make sure that he can get these touches and trust his teammate to make those passes and make it work. Because, if you can't trust your teammate, then it's all just going to fall apart.
Exactly. Trust needs to be a massive factor in the way you set up. Schmoopinator getting a flick past one. Delusion actually getting the save. A nice forward touch there by Frenzy as well. Couldn't quite get the second. It's going to be Cyrexel going for the clear. Delusion looking for an infield pass. Can't get it. Negative now with the read. Beautiful clear there from the back line by Schmoop. And it seems like Hazard walk away with the first goal.
Absolutely, and what a fantastic pass, but Frenzy with an unfortunate miss. Negative was so ready for that ball. You could tell he was ready, he was waiting, he was like, yep, this is my ball, this is my shot, and he made it work.
It just seems like Negative's bread and butter. He must have backers mod training where he's just throwing the ball at himself to get those kinds of reads, and he was very, very well positioned for that passing play as well. So Hazard now looking to capitalize on this momentum and this current lead as we see Negative going for a solo play. Can't quite get the waterfall read, but now Cyrexel's looking to take over. Tries to go for the 50 advantage, does get it, and this allows Schmoop now just to take a straight shot, but Steve with the pre-jump gets the save.
Really good defensive touch from MRR, but I don't know if it's too little too late because they really have to push forward. Frenzy, though, recognizing he has so much time. Schmoop going for the touch, but the 1-2, it's an open net. Steve needs to push it. He does. He makes the angle, and he equalizes the score.
This is what I was talking about earlier, where you kind of let Frenzy just do his thing. He gets a nice pop, forces out a double commit, and Steve, just being in the right place at the right time, will follow through with the banger of a shot. And this is where the Rats kind of flourish, is having those plays where Frenzy draws out the opponents, draws out the defenders, and the cleanup is there and waiting.
Now, this is what's interesting to me, is how each team plays when they've had the chance to be ahead and now they've had the chance, well, sorry, not had the chance, but it's now equalized. Because both teams are kind of not really going to be in their element, and oh no, it's an open net. Schmoopinator interrupts the attacking play. I think it was a little bit slow from Delusion, but what a great clear. But a simple mistake causes a simple goal, and now Hazard a 1 goal ahead again.
This is drawing to a point that I made before about Delusion being a backbone and, you know, really being more defensive oriented, is when there is that play where he seems to push up as third man and, you know, tries to be a little bit more dynamic. That there is so many vulnerabilities on the defensive line, and this is where time and time again we see those open net goals come through against the Rats. So it is something that I've drawn point to, where they need to just be a little bit more aware of their rotations and how aggressive they're pushing up, because they will be exploited.
Now, you see Steve, he's really pushing forward for his team. He's trying to make those aggressive touches because it's on Delusion and Frenzy to make those aggressive goals happen. We've seen Frenzy score some nuts goals, some interesting plays before, and right now though, Hazard really wanting to make this series into, you know, something that they can be very happy with. And oh, it's right in front of net. What a fantastic clear, but so unfortunate for MRR. Couldn't quite make it work.
Oh, just the worst situation is to have that floating ball in the goal. You think you could easily get the touch, but then you have Cyrexel just coming out of the gates, getting the clear. And this is where Hazard now look to just kind of kill time off the ball. They only have to hold out another 20 seconds and they will be credited with the second series point. Cyrexel trying to go for a nice little full shot there. Got bumped away from the ball, and now the Rats are looking to capitalize. Nice challenge there. Delusion, what is happening? Flies over the ball, but Frenzy and Steve still trying to link up as best as possible. 4 seconds. Beautiful touch by Negative. That's all that was needed to happen. He gets the clear just enough so Hazard get the win.
Is all she wrote. What a fantastic play from Hazard though. Great clear at the end there. Really good consistent pressure. And that's the thing that I'm loving about this series, the consistency of Hazard. You know, we've seen them go up, we've seen them go down, we've seen them, and in my eyes, be not the most consistent team in the world. And now in this series, we've seen some fantastic consistent games. Because MRR, they're really not in their comfort zone. They're sitting there and they're going like, I don't know what's going on. Where do we be? Where do we, you know, position? Where do we move? And, you know, between the two teams, Hazard seem to be showing, at least at this point in time, that they are the top dog.
Yeah, Hazard just having a lot more way with the positioning. They're having a lot more influence around the field. And it just seems like the control is definitely moving in their way. I do have to draw a point that a lot of the opportunities that were presented for Hazard were off I guess, unforced errors. You know, we saw Delusion a couple of times going for a play where he was beaten out, wasn't fast enough. We saw one time that he just got a misread and that opened up for an open net. So it's the unforced errors that are, you know, really being the king factor or the deciding factor in a lot of these matches.
Yeah, and now I guess the common denominator now is that, you know, if Hazard win this game right here, then it's all over. MRR have to climb the mountain and get 2 wins in order to come out on top. And, you know, I'd love to see a game 5, but with the way that Hazard have been playing the previous games, it's been very interesting to see.
I know, it's the first time that we've seen MRR in this position where they're currently down in the series points and at match point against themselves. So interesting situation, and it's going to be Schmoopinator looking to do some mechanics on the goal line. Can't quite cut the angle enough, and it's going to open up now for the side of Rat's Delusion. Beautiful plank flick, managed to get a lot of height and power off of that as well, but the rotations for Hazard are there.
Frenzy with a good clear. Negative. He's ready to receive this ball, and he's trying to make sure that his team have kind of movements. Again, you see Delusion hovering in the background. He wants to get in the play. He wants to move in, but, you know, his team and Hazard especially really not allowing him to do so.
Ooh, double commit there by the side of Hazard. Could have been dangerous, but luckily Negative was on his way back. He does manage to get the save. Frenzy, unfortunately, getting a block there, but it seems like for the time being, Rat's still looking to hold that possession. Delusion to Frenzy off the backboard. Double commit again by the side of Hazard. Just a little bit panicky as they are currently in match point situation.
Pushing the ball forward, Delusion, he's ready to receive it, but look, Siraxel, ready and waiting. The flip reset, I think he got it. He does manage to make the connection, but a little bit too little too late. Schmoopinator moving forward for his team, but it's right over the net. Hazard, though, they're good. They're pushing forward. They're trying to make these plays work. And again, similar to last game, a minute 30 down, and not much has happened in terms of score, but they're fighting tooth and nail for every inch of the court.
They are indeed. And we just saw there a double commit coming out of the Rats, but the presence and the field control coming from Hazard at the moment. Very, very confident gameplay coming from these players as we see the ball in a very dangerous position. Frenzy, very careful not to own goal that, because that would have been a very horrible situation for this first goal in game 4.
Collision, pushing it to the side. Siraxel bumping it towards the center, but it's straight over to Frenzy, and this might be the play that the MRR were looking for, but unfortunately not. Negative tells them no. Delusion now pushing it forward.
Nice play. We're seeing a bit of team play coming through for the Rats now. Delusion linking up with Steve, but unfortunately hitting Steve on the way through, and Steve not having any momentum to try and put a shot on. Now Negative, what can he do? Gets dunked, but it's still possession for them. Siraxel, beautiful read to get the long clear, and it actually will work into his favor. He goes for the block, almost gets the second touch, but it actually works out against his favor and gives a bit of time and space to the Rats.
Right now, we're seeing a couple of interesting things happen, right? The main thing about it is that Steve and his team, the Rats, they're really trying to push forward, trying to get these touches, but again, it's always a little bit awkward. They're not getting the movement that they want. The ball isn't going quite where they need it to go, and it seems as though Hazard are really making quick work of this.
The one thing that I'm kind of noticing as well is there's very good thought at setting up a team play or setting up a passing play, but it's almost like they're overreading it and they're not quite getting the finesse to get it straight to their teammate, which is causing a lot of this panicked and confused gameplay. We do see a nice play there by Delusion, almost getting a nice air drag into the first goal, but it is easily saved.
Yeah, you could definitely tell as well, Schmoopinator pushing it forward. Negative, doing a fake challenge, and it seems to work out for now, but this aggression, it's not stopping. It's non-stop from the Rats, and they're really trying to make it work, but again, it just manages to get pushed out. Now Schmoopinator might have an open net. He does, and he makes his team in a 1-goal advantage and a minute and 14 seconds away from taking this series.
That was a very smart play by Schmoopinator. Gets a dunk onto Frenzy, decides to boost all the way down the field to keep momentum. So he had the shot angle as well. So well done by them to get into this good position. Only a minute and 8 seconds now on the clock for them to hold this out and take the first loss onto Max's Rancid Rats. double commit there by the Rats causes a bit of disarray, but it doesn't seem to be too panicky at the moment. Great speed by Cyrexel to challenge that ball, and by Negative just to dispossess this Rats team. And there's an open net, but no one home for Hazard.
Good to see Hazard. They're really trying to force the issue, trying to make it a 2-0 and, you know, double their score lead. 40 seconds remaining. That's close to net, but Negative says no. Frenzy now has the touch, gets the flip reset. He manages to push it on the top. This could be the chance that they needed, but 30 seconds remaining. Steve with a shot on, and it goes in. They equalize the score, and they equalize this series.
Just great pressure building for this side. We do see Steve getting the shot, Delusion being credited at the end. I was actually wondering how he managed to be the one to score it, but he just kind of does a little old sneaky steal there right at the end after Steve puts it in a good position. But first time we've really seen some really structured and I guess dynamic attacking presence from the Rats in this match.
I have to say, between both of these teams, Hazard seemed to be playing the more aggressive style. The Rats seem to go forward and try to make it work, but you can definitely tell there is a bit of, you know, lack of cohesion in their group, you know, lack of cohesion in their game plan. And as we head into overtime, this is either the Rats' downfall or the Rats' equalizer.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting situation. Literally decided by one goal. Will they progress through, or will they get their first loss? It's going to be a very, very tight situation, as we have already got some good opportunities by the Rats early on. Delusion getting that demo will open up some opportunities. Steve, can he get to himself? Can't quite get the read, but Frenzy opting to go backwards instead of forwards will open up for Schmoopinator now, but Steve offensively rotating there causes some disarray, and for now gives time and space for his teammates.
Although Negative, he's getting a bit nervous, he's getting a little bit frustrated, he's trying to clear out this ball, trying to make something happen for his team, but they're going forward. Steve passing it over to the side, Negative getting it across, Delusion up, and away you go. And Schmoopinator now might need to get onto this. Steve with a great touch, he's trying to leave it to Frenzy, but unfortunately there wasn't quite the touch that he wanted. This could be Negative's chance to do it. Can Hazard finalize this series? And Steve says no for the moment.
Ooh, interesting play. Cyrexel, good support there for Schmoopinator, who caught the ball behind him. It would have been very awkward for him to try and get that touch, but we have a very nice team play here by the Rats. Unfortunately, Steve couldn't quite cut the angle. Nice patience there by Cyrexel to go for a delayed touch around Frenzy. And this is starting to open up for Hazard now. Schmoopinator getting the midfield pass, but there's so many members back for the Rats, and this is where they can really dominate. Frenzy going up for the double, but Schmoop is back with the read.
He makes it back in time, and oh, Steve with a miss. That could have been it. That could have been the chance that he wanted or needed, and Schmoop pushing Frenzy off the ball. Frenzy pushing Negative in turn. Now Cyrexel needs to get to this ball. Steve, though, has a bit of control. Schmoopinator pushing forward. This is what he wants to do. He wants to be up in their face, wants to force an error, force a mistake. Now Negative touches it away. Frenzy gets interrupted by his opponent. Negative with a good touch. Schmoop has control. Goes for a fake challenge. I like it, but Frenzy now up, and away. The Rats seem to have a bit more control in this overtime.
Yeah, it seems like they have a bit of composure back. They're challenging very efficiently, and they're causing Hazard to be in a really awkward position. Oh, Cyrexel couldn't quite get the read. That could have been a really good opportunity to seal that away, but just didn't have the opportunity. And oh, you always hate to see the opportunity being completely reversed and the Rats walking away with this overtime.
That was the shot. That was the moment to make that happen. But it seems that it is not Hazard's day. The Rats are not out of this series yet. We're heading to a game number 5. We're heading to an absolute blitzer of a final game. And oh my goodness, I am at a loss for words for what happened there.
As am I. At the moment, it seems like, you know, Hazard do have a lot of momentum, do have a lot of potential, but the opportunities that they are having are just not being capitalized. And this is where, you know, I guess the pressure of the fact that they're in a game 5 may weigh on them, because they had the opportunity to close it out and they'll be kicking themselves for it.
I'm very impressed with both, with both of these teams and how they're playing. It's
Mm.
really good to see because both of them they're playing aggressive. They're trying to get in touch with the ball and in touch with their play style. But both teams they're not allowing their opponents to do that. And between the two of them, it's looking like Rats over time are making it work a little bit better. But Hazard, when they're aggressive early, they really just get stuck in there.
Yeah, exactly. When Hazard kind of open up and start swinging, they do have a lot of, really good opportunities. It's where they have to, capitalize on those opportunities and then just hold strong. We've seen that in the last two matches, especially, they've pretty much for the majority of the match held the Rats at bay. They haven't leaked any goals. They haven't overcommitted, and they've been quite solid defensively. Now it's just, can they keep that up for one more game?
This is going to be absolute blitzer of a match to watch because it's either Hazard stepping up to the plate and finalizing this series, or can the Rats continue their run into an undefeated finals?
Ooh, that's going to be the question. It's going to be on everyone's tongues at the moment, and it's going to be Cyrex. Oh, almost getting that opportunity. Steve just jumping and being a nuisance on the ball there. Stopped that second opportunity for a goal, and they're starting to feel confident in their car placements, although there is a miss there by Frenzy. Could have been tactical. We do see an instant follow-up by his teammates, so well communicated from them. But now Hazard, can they capitalize on some of these situations? Frenzy, nerves of steel not to jump there and dodge that demo.
Right now, Delusion has a bit of control. He goes for the pass, but Steve isn't quite there. We're almost a minute into this game, and it's so back and forth. We've seen it in the past couple. Oh, wow. Where was that coming from? Steve with a fantastic shot. A great pass, but wow, absolutely out of nowhere. Straight off the side, and all of a sudden touch off the wheels and 1,000 kilometers an hour to end up being 94 in the net. Wow.
That's some real confidence to jump from the corner there after your teammate bumps the ball into the wall to be able to get that read. Just huge gameplay advantage. And now we're starting to see the Rats really open up. Frenzy with a bit of a style play for a second.
Yeah, again, similar story to most of the night. All of a sudden, it seems as though the Rats are completely taking this game. They had one shot, and then all of a sudden, the second goes in, and they're at a 2-0 lead. And now that Hazard are behind, they haven't really played well from behind. They've played well from, ahead, but they're not getting that chance this game.
This could be the opportunity to sway the voters, to show people that they can still be relevant in this game, even though they are not currently in the lead. There's still 3 minutes and 44 seconds on the clock, but you don't want to leave those open nets there. Steve just capitalizing on some open space and gets a third goal.
Well, Hazard have absolutely been torn asunder by the Rats. I would not have expected this game to be going this score at the moment. And again, there is still a lot of Rocket League to be played. But right now, it seems as though the Rats are taking control of the entire series.
Yeah, definitely a revitalized Rats after getting that overtime win there. It just seems to be on the ball pretty much from any given space on the field. They are very, very dynamic. Steve, what are you doing on that goal line? Still managing to get a touch and still managing to get the goal.
Well, the Rats are telling everyone to shut up shop because Steve is telling them that this game is ours 100%. And we were just messing around the first 4 games. We're finally sinking our fangs into your neck right now.
It really does seem like that. They do seem to be faster, more confident, and especially Steve, I feel like he's just being everywhere at all given times. Like, he's offensively rotating, he's looking for either a bump or a demo, or even just a random flying ball that seems to be in his general vicinity and to make a play out of. So that's the power of these players at this high level. But unfortunately, right now, we see negative. Going for a bit of a 1v1 after a mistake there by Delusion in the corner. Tries to be a little bit of a nuisance on the goal line, but Frenzy should be pretty comfortable in this situation. Does manage to get the save and put the ball forward, but negative. Beats him out. Gets the waterfall read. Tries to get the bump on Steve. Cyraxel, huge body, but still can't manage to get the goal.
Yeah, can't quite make the touches that he wants to happen. Delusion, though, has the solo play, and you see they demo Steve. They say, hey, we're not doing too well against 3v3, so we'll make it a 3v2. The Delusion again has control. Away it goes, Schmoopinator, another demolition. They're trying to clear out the Rats. The Exterminators are in town, and I don't know if it's enough. Because Steve, touching it back to his team, he's not letting anyone but himself touch this ball.
Yeah,
Between the two teams, yeah, go on.
I was just going to say, like, he feels like he's in free play and he's just trying to get as many touches as possible at the moment. Super comfortable in where he's positioning himself right now. And that's kind of forcing some really awkward challenges by the Hazard team. They're, you know, I guess just blindly rushing at a few plays, you know, trying to be fast and dynamic, but they're being caught out.
Steve is showing his opponents that, hey, you know, if you guys are fast to the ball, I'll just be that extra little bit faster, you know? I'll put on my hacks, I'll make myself that little bit faster, so that there's no way that you're going to get anywhere near this ball.
Yeah, exactly right. Just the way they're playing at the moment, super solid. Cyrexel does manage to get a goal there after, I guess, Hazard setting up a beautiful amount of play as well. They did rotate quite offensively. They did try and keep the toes of the opposition, especially on the defensive side. They were, you know, really, really good on the offensive. So they do get credited with that goal, but now they have a situation where they need 3 goals in 1:30 after Rats really opened up in the opening minutes.
Yeah, it's such an interesting play as well, because the whole thing behind it is that, you know, Hazard are trying to show that they're not down for the count. You know, they may be out at least for the minute, but, you know, with a minute remaining, they have to score 3, and it's a hard ask. It's very, very hard ask.
It is going to be a hard ask. A little over a minute remaining. Frenzy in tow with the ball, just flipping to try and get a challenge. Manages to get one from Schmoopinator and forces out a heavy touch by Negative. And this is where some confusion will come through. Steve, beautiful control and patience to get that play, but Schmoopinator doesn't want to have anything of it. Gets the beat past one, has time and space to get the other, but the roll goes up. He doesn't manage to get the read off the backboard, and that could have been an opportunity for them to get back one more.
Push forward, Schmoopinator ready to receive it, but it's such a difficult game to call right now because they're really giving it a go between the two. Look at that. Again, now there's only 2 goal difference. 30 seconds remaining. Can Hazard do it? We've seen crazier things before. I believe that they can, but it's so difficult. The Rats are still ahead.
I'm crossing everything right now. Fingers, toes, eyes, anything that I have crossed, I am crossing it, just to see if we can get this to an overtime, because that would be an incredible way to finish off this final match for the mini league season. As we see, Negative challenging the ball, Delusion getting a couple of extra touches, puts in a good spot for the Hazard team as Cyrexel gets dunked. There should be a follow-up, but Steve, beautiful car positioning to just force out a bit of a touch there. Negative now, 10 seconds remaining, open net situation, flies at the ball, but that will be the nail in the coffin. There is unfortunately not a lot that they can do. 3 goals in 8 seconds. It will be GG's in the final match.
I think even Cyrexel is actually called GG's. And right now, between all of them, a Game 5 showdown. That was such an interesting series in my eyes. I think, you know, the Rats really stepped it up in that final game. Steve really stepped up his speed, made sure to move forward with it all. And as the ball drops to the ground, it shows the final winners. And I think they're going to be very happy with that result. But, you know, a bit of a scrappy games to kind of look forward to. But wow, what a way to finish it.
A very, very strong way to finish it. And Max's Rancid Rats being the only team to go undefeated through the entire league play portion of this mini league season. Very, very well done to them. It did seem like they kind of let the gas off a little bit in those middle games and allowed Hazard to get back in. But credit to Hazard, they did play very, very efficiently. They rotated quite strongly. They put themselves in a really good position. But the Rats, they're just a team that you can never discount at any point.
Well, you know, if you win by an inch or a mile, it's still a win. And I think the Rats are going to take it and take a little bit of learning, hopefully, from that series just to, you know, go all out from the get-go. There's no reason to kind of give your opponents any mercy. And it was a great showing from both teams, though. Really big congrats to Hazard, but another big congrats to the Rats themselves because they end up with a 5-0 series.
Exactly right. And that will be the conclusion of all the matches for the round robin portion of this match. So let's have a quick look at the standing. And it's going to be interesting because a lot has happened in the background away from this streamed match. And we have an absolute upset coming through with Southern Stars getting that win over Relentless. And it looks to be a situation where they have a 4th place position over 6-man's battalion because of the goal differential and game differential. So an absolute snag. They've been able to pull it off and have come through with the 4th place position. And that means, unfortunately, for the 6-man's battalion, who did have a horrible run today, a lot of luck going against their favor, being sent home today.
Wow, what a way to come back into it. Southern Stars, I think they started the day 0-3, correct me if I'm wrong, and then they ended up 2-3, ending up at 4th. Like, what a fantastic showing. I think, a big congrats to each and every single team that, is playing tonight for sure. And a big congrats to even the teams that didn't quite make it there. You got to this point here and you managed to fight against some of, the best that OCE has to offer. And I mean, not much else to say apart from big congrats to the top 4, because I think we're going to be seeing them next week, if I'm not wrong, yeah?
We are indeed. There'll be more details to come, but as it stands, the top 4 teams will be progressing through to our grand final next week. It is our last week of the Mini League Season 1, so it's going to be an absolute banger of a night. I know I'm definitely looking forward to it, and I can't wait to see what will happen. But looking at what's happening with the way the Rats have been playing, it's going to be a big ask. They did go undefeated. They do look very strong, but the good positive out of this is Hazard were able to take it to a game 5. So there's going to be a lot of good positives that they can draw from, a lot of things that they can work on in the week coming up to the grand final, but still can't take away from the fact that Rats are that strong.
Absolutely. I think it's definitely going to be a bit of more of a competition for who places, second and third and fights for that, ever increasing prize pool. And I don't have much else to say here tonight, but what a fantastic showing from each and every team, and good luck to them for the next few weeks.
Exactly. Congratulations to obviously everyone who made it through. Thank you to everyone who participated in the Mini League Season 1. We do appreciate all the love and support, especially the viewers. Without you, it would not be possible. Just before we get going, I wanted to make a huge shout out to our production team and the behind the scenes crew, which is obviously Jimmy and Payback. They are tirelessly working on creating a really clean setup for you to view. Obviously, the graphics and the decals are absolutely clean, and they also do a lot for the community. So thank you to them, and also to the BlueBirds group, who have obviously the Rivals and the Roleplay series, and Scar for being the head of that. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity. I also want to take the opportunity to thank Wolf for jumping on board today and being an absolute gun on the color commentary. It's always good to get some inspiration from the other community members, and you've definitely made me feel very welcome, and so I thank you there as well.
No, thank you so much for having me. Sorry, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I'd love to do it again for sure. You and you're so right. The production team as well all do such a fantastic job, and thank you to the viewers as well. Thanks for everyone who's come to watch the some of the best in OCE duke it out, and it was a night of ups and downs, and I think as we draw to the conclusion, I got nothing but a smile on my face. I've had such a good time.
I'm glad to hear that. Well, that will be it, guys. Get amongst our social media, get on our Twitter, Discord, all the different bits and pieces. Follow everything that BlueBirds is doing, because there is definitely more to come. But for tonight, that is all we have. We'll have the grand final series next week. And until then, stay safe, enjoy your weekend, and have a great time.